Hello and welcome back to the How to Get an Analytics Job podcast. In this podcast episode, our guest lecturer is Robin Hunt, who is both an analytics entrepreneur and an educator. So she runs her own consulting agency on top of also teaching on Lynda and LinkedIn. So this is the second episode of our success stories chapter for season 2 of the podcast. So what Robin's going to do is tell her success story. So she's going to talk about how she came up in the analytics space, how she's learned new skills, and the lessons that she's learned along the way. She's also going to give some critique and feedback to 2 of my Greensboro College students. So they have put together a Tableau public portfolio and also a presentation of how they were going to talk about it in an interview setting. So what we're going to do in the interactive portion of this episode is Robin is going to give feedback to 2 of my students about how they can communicate insights and explain their Tableau portfolios even better. Then we're going to wrap up the episode with our social media manager, Al Bellamy, who's going to do the Q&A section where you guys posted questions on LinkedIn. This podcast episode is brought to you by Panoply. Panoply is a platform built for analysts that connects over 60 different data sources, making it easy to explore your data in SQL, visualize it in tools like Power BI or Tableau, or even analyze it in your favorite programming language. Click the link in the description down below and you can start your free 14-day trial to panoply.io. One last thing though before we get into the episode, if you're getting value out of the podcast episode, the best thing you can do to give back to us is to leave a comment down below, or even share this with your network. With all that being said, let's jump into the episode. Robin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic. It's probably the first sunny day, warm sunny day of spring. Well, I guess not officially spring, but it's 60 degrees out.
It's nice. It's nice here in Birmingham too.
Where are you in your career right now?
So I started Think Data with my co-founder Daniel Bishop 10 years ago. We're about to turn literally 10 years old.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about that. It's pretty fantastic. The company has always had a development side as well as a technical education side. I had a career aspiration of being on lynda.com in the early days of my career. And so to be now on LinkedIn Learning and teaching data analytics from an entry level standpoint has just been a dream come true for me to be able to reach that level of audience for that particular technology. Probably one of the more groundbreaking things that I work on is I study early childhood education to show that actually early childhood education does work and that we should expand it to the children of our state. I work on a multidiscipline team for that. So it's not just me, it's me and a group of amazing other people like historian, economist, public health, education. It's all of the above. I've done that for the last 5 or 6 years. I think that's probably a career. When I look back at my career, it's one of the just greatest projects because every line of data is actually a person, and that matters to me a lot. Yeah, and I still have so much more to do. Like data stays the same, but the tools change.
Yeah.
And so I pretty much try to stay tools agnostic because I serve a vast amount of different industry with data. When I'm practicing, so I teach it and I practice it.
Wait, can we pause right there? Because I am literally writing a script for a video saying don't be a tool specialist.
Yeah, we call it tools agnostic.
Right. And well, okay. Can you unpack your thinking there? Why is that a bad tactic or strategy from a career standpoint?
Why is it bad to be so tool specific?
Yes.
Because you don't know what you're going to get wherever you go, right? And you can get so siloed into your thinking, and you can cost yourself and your customers or your employer a lot by just using what you know versus expanding into what might be the appropriate approach. Yeah, so I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, it's important because the customers we serve, we never know what they're going to have infrastructure wise. From a people like education perspective, the exposure to multiple tools just will help show you which direction you should go. I don't know, like not one single tool does everything exactly perfect. There are other tools, like, so for example, I don't really love the mapping component in Power BI,
Oh,
but I love the mapping
absolutely agree with you on
component.
that.
Yeah, but I love the mapping component in Tableau.
That's
So
extremely relevant to, because the video that I'm scripting right now is kind of like, think about your skill stack or your tool stack like a investment portfolio. If you invested only in one stock, if that stock blows up, you're golden. But if that stock doesn't, you're completely dependent upon that.
yeah,
Because I've got a kind of an interesting story, because I'm in a funny spot in that I do most of my consulting in Tableau, but I'm much more well known for my Power BI courses.
yeah,
Because I've had about 200,000 students take my Power BI courses
yeah,
on LinkedIn and Lynda. So I'm
yeah,
like known by a lot of people as the Power BI guy, but I know way more about Tableau. And what's interesting is that I ran the Tableau user group in Greensboro for 2 years.
okay,
And when I got asked by Madecraft, which is a startup that publishes through LinkedIn,
yeah,
to do a Power BI course, I like felt this weird anxiety of like, they're going to feel like I betrayed their like tribe and their group. Because they
yeah,
do that. They kind of build this like company culture, and it's like very like the Tableau conventions are epic. So are the Microsoft ones, and I think a lot of people really identify with tools, and I
yeah,
think that benefits the tool company, not actually that person.
correct. The other challenge too is that I think one reason why people who are seeking skills in data analysis are reading so many job descriptions, and those job descriptions are written by non-data people, and they are very tool specific. And it's very frustrating because they say we want someone with X number of years of SQL, whatever, but what they really need is someone who can query. And what I don't really care if you know how to query, it doesn't matter what the tool is, because at some point it becomes a point and click. It's the concept of how you tie relevant data sets together appropriately to get an accurate outcome. I could care less what tool you ask me to use. I'm so focused on those data sets and getting them clean and able to communicate that I really don't care what tool it is. But I sometimes feel like I'm alone on that island, but I'm glad to know that you're also there. But yeah, as a company, we definitely call ourselves tools agnostic, because again, we need to know as much as we can know. We consume as much as we can consume. In our data analytics bootcamp, we teach Power BI and Tableau, so
Okay,
that they can
cool.
have
I
both
love that.
experiences. Yeah, oh yeah, we teach Power
So
Query and
yeah.
Excel and Power BI and all of it.
This cohort that you're talking to right now, last semester we started off with Power BI and then wrapped up the semester with a month-long focus on building out Tableau public portfolios.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
then they get exposure. I mean, I really like starting off teaching with Power BI because, I mean, you've got the visualization tab, you've got the data tab, and you got the data model tab. So
Yeah,
it's like a great conduit to introduce people who are brand new to data visualization to the kind of the core concepts.
yeah,
So where I
yeah,
wish
I agree.
Tableau had Tableau Prep baked directly into it, which I don't think are they there yet? They're not.
I don't know.
It's two-step separate. And see, that's another thing too about being a tool specialist, is that you're constantly having to keep up with all the updates, to
Yeah,
where like teaching these analytics 101 courses, it's more theory that is much more foundational, and I would say pretty solid versus, I
yeah,
mean, as soon as I published my last Power BI course, within like 2 weeks, there was a new update. So it was all, like immediately outdated.
drives me crazy how you have to do that. But I think it's also important as well, especially for your students here, to understand, students, practitioners everywhere, is that, okay, if you're going to be in the field of technology and you can't deal with a massive amount of constant change, you really need to check yourself right now. Like, it is a constant change, and the tools change, new tools are created. Some are great at this, some are not great at that. Like, so Tableau, it didn't always have any type of prep, and basically if you knew how to join data, you could clean it before you got there, you could join it in there, but the prep part was terrible. So I figured out, well, I can use Power Query to clean it and then attach that to my Tableau. So having a versatile set of tools that you can leverage to create a solution, it certainly doesn't hurt. But I learned pretty early on in my career when I moved here, we were using Windows 95. And look how much has changed just in the Windows environment. Like, we didn't even have transparent backgrounds and graphics yet. There was no streaming video on the internet. I mean, we were one day away from where we would listen to a telephone dial the internet. So to say that the last 20 years of my technical career has been a whirlwind is like, that is, couldn't describe it better. But I never wanted to just let me just focus on this. Because if I focused on just the one thing, I couldn't solve the problem. No one tool can solve the problem. It's the way I describe it to my students and other people is, do you always take a hammer? Is the hammer the only thing in your tool bag? Because if that's it, there's just going to be some jobs you are not going to be able to do. And yes, I can take a screwdriver and turn it into a hammer if I need to, but wouldn't it be better if I had a screwdriver and a hammer? So yeah, I look at the software as just no differently than having a tool set that has everything in it that I could possibly use to solve a problem.
Yeah, I often call it like a tool stack. Like what are the things that you're using in combination together?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice or tips on how have you kind of kept up with that learning? So is it just kind of your mindset that I am going to be learning the new things? Is it a struggle for you, or are you just genuinely curious about technology? Because I know, like, Connor, for example, just loves doodling in technology. I mean, the Tableau public portfolio he put together, I mean, he like sent me an email at like 1 a.m. like, hey, I've been working on this one specific thing for 3 hours now.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. I'm not like a I don't know, tech
I'm
geek.
insane like that. Like, if I get on it, I ain't coming off. No, right. No, I gotta get to the end. Like, yeah. So I am a naturally curious person. I am extremely driven. I am ambitious, I guess. And I'm also extremely practical.
Ooh, I like all of those in combination, because I think that a lot of times ambition is just, in curiosity, they just run wild. But like, if you're practical and you're a little bit practice some judgment and some discipline, then, because I see this a lot in the entrepreneurship space where people will run in all the different directions at the same time. And if you're running this way and this way at the same speed at the same time, you're really not going anywhere.
Right. And you're going to burn yourself out.
True.
I think one of the hardest things for people in the beginning of their technology careers, and this is true for me as well, is figuring out, where do you fit? Like, when you don't have a high volume of knowledge, it's really impossible to know exactly what your specialty is and where you fit in the mix and where should you spend all your effort. So it took me a little while to figure out, like, this is where I want to be. But there are some certain skills that I have that I know that this is my lane. So one thing I do try to help people to understand is just, like, expose yourself to a lot of different things until you know it's your lane. And then there's going to be some things that are of interest to you that you want to continue to pursue those things. But then there are other things that you're going to hear and you'll be like, oh my God, I never want to hear that again. And for me, that was a hardware course where they were talking about subnet masking back before cloud server. People were building like closets of servers in their individual businesses before cloud servers. And so I would sit and listen to them talk about subnet masking and just feel like I wanted to die. Like, I don't want to, like, please, get me out of here. Like, now, am I going to have to remember this? And then also understanding and accepting that we don't learn technology like we learn to read. When you learn to read, you learn the letters first. And then you learn that those letters form words. And then you learn that those words form sentences. And then you learn that those sentences form paragraphs. But in technology, you learn A, L, Z, F, G. You may never learn O or S or T because you don't need them. They're not applicable to you. So I think sometimes people will hold themselves back because they believe they have to learn A through Z in order to be effective. And that is not how technology works. And I just encourage people to just, like, that's not how we learn technology. We're not going to ever know A through Z. And about the time you think you've mastered the letter S in technology, there's going to be S.1, S.2, S.3, S.3.1. Like, it's just never going to change. So.
Well, to put like a little bit of a positive spin on that, because I feel like that's a little existentially depressing. Like,
no, it's awesome.
You're never going to get on top of it. You're never going to figure it out. But I will say that
I'm saying you don't have to know it.
Well, I'm saying the opposite side of that is that provides a lot of job security.
Yeah.
Because if you can be an expert in your specific lane, then the fact that it's continually innovating, the more you kind of get experience and intuition and you can develop judgment in that space, the more valuable you are to an organization.
I agree.
But getting back to your point about finding out like what is like so boring to you, when I was in my MBA program, my supply chain class was the most boring class that I ever took. And I remember thinking, like, should I even get a business degree now? Like, should it was depressing to me. I was like, I would like leave that class being like, oh man, these people. Well, and what's funny is it kind of to like pull back like the psychological layer. I love sales and marketing. I'm super fascinated by psychology. So the juxtaposition of sales and marketing versus your supply chain. So you're dealing with people, psychology, trends. There's like a lot of sales going on. And then on the supply chain, it's like machines, like just-in-time inventory stocking. It's like, and some people love that.
Yeah.
And are energized by that. That sounds so boring and cold and lifeless to me that like I couldn't do it. Like, but I mean, if you're interested in supply chain, I mean, what's ironic is that I'm facilitating the capstone course and we're doing a supply chain case study with one of my consulting clients.
There you go.
Although this one, it's a little bit more, I don't find that project, like that student group, depressing because it's like I'm watching the students figure out the problems themselves, which kudos to you guys on the call, because you guys are like taking these. So what we're doing this semester is I've taken 2 of my consulting clients and then I just basically carved out a project and said, go figure it out. And I'll be here on Monday if you have questions.
Okay, awesome.
And I was like kind of, I felt a lot of guilt around, man, I'm like getting paid for this and I'm like not working super hard.
Yeah.
But I think like I'm actually doing a disservice because I initially wanted to micromanage the project and help them facilitate every problem solve. But it's like me just kind of setting that personal boundary and letting the students figure it out, I think is hugely
That's
valuable.
really tough. I deal with that too in boot camp. Like, we do a capstone project when they graduate and they start, like, they come up with their own idea. Like, we do all the data around it and then they present their findings at the end of the boot camp. And it is so hard. Like, they come up with these studies and I want to analyze the data so bad. Like, I
Oh
want to
yeah.
come up with my own findings. I want to be able to participate. I want to build all the presentations. Um, but if I do that, they learn nothing. And if I'm feeding them, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do, like when they get to the job, they're not going to know what to do. And they're going to be turning around trying to find Robin to answer that question. So it is extremely hard to like let them go. But what we do in our boot camp is like we build them up to the point where they should be able to handle it. And then we refine with feedback and things like that. But it is extremely difficult not to get your hands in there and just like go do it this way or do it that way. Because you
Well,
got, in order for them to learn and succeed, they got to kind of pull back a little bit.
the way that I see it, it's like you're failing coming and going, because like the students aren't like, you're robbing them of a learning opportunity, but you're also taking something like I'm then degrading how much I'm actually getting paid to teach this course. So it's like just a failure all around.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
at first I was like, I needed to be in every client meeting and make sure that it went smoothly. But now I just delegated 2 team leaders and said, all right, here's an introduction to the client. You guys go figure it out. I mean,
That's awesome.
I mean, it is tough. But I will say this, like, I mean, last semester, we had a case studies and business analytics course where we went through those 4 case studies the last month. And then we did, a section on Power BI and Analytics 101. I am shocked at how quick these students have picked this up.
Oh, I mean, if you foundationally set them up, like, yeah, they can do it. I think so. I'll step back just a little bit and talk about. So lynda.com was my career aspiration, and I got into the library on a crystal reports course, paginated reports for all our data folks, and I really loved crystal reports and getting into that world and being on Lynda, and then creating integrated, like, so my Excel and Access courses all are about building solutions, leveraging those tools. But when they ask me, like, why do you believe, if data is such a sexy job, why do you believe that people are not entering into data analytics? And the answer is the same as it is for programming and coding. Is like, if you start people at R, you're going to eliminate most of the data professionals right out the gate, right? So one of the things that I try to be real clear about in what we do is we're taking people who have a natural curiosity and an interest in data and building them foundationally so that they can pick any particular area. And if they like coding, they might be interested in Python and R and go in that direction. One of the great failures I think that happen in our industry is that we live in a world of buzzwords, and our students are chasing those buzzwords and not even really fully understanding that the people that are doing those jobs they're at the tops of their career. Like, you gotta do your work to get to there. So I also believe that data is so, it's so much in the hands of people that are not technical professionals, that all people need to have some baseline data analytics skill. And so that's where the learning data analytics course came from, was just trying to get people to understand that data is something that you can do. And if you're interested in it, and you don't have to be a data scientist to be a data analyst or be a data professional. So.
And yeah, I feel like I didn't realize this, you're my competitor, because I have a foundations of analytics.
We're not competitors.
We're that's true.
We're buddies. No, like, so like in our boot camp, our people watch your stuff.
Oh, that's right. Because I remember that's how we got connected. Was that one of your people?
Yes.
No, I mean, I'm being cutesy. Like, I don't see you as like, obviously I wouldn't have you on my podcast to bring you in on the audience, on the learning.
Right.
But no, it is, there's something to demystifying analytics, because I think a lot of people overvalue hard skills, and they think that if I know advanced coding and I can do this advanced algorithm or whatever it is, that's going to give me a career and a path forward. And I think that what is often overlooked, I mean, there's actually this meme that I was thinking about, like, like creating, there's this meme online that I've seen where it's like two people at a press conference and one there's like 20 microphones on this one person, and this person over here has one. And I was thinking about having it like soft skills with the one microphone and hard skills with the 20, because it's like people think that if I can just hone my hard skills, then I'm going to kill it and I'm going to be super successful.
Oh, right. Wrong. Totally wrong. Again, totally wrong. Okay. Hard skills, you can pick them up. Like if you're willing to self-teach yourself and learn, like you can pick up hard skills. But the soft skills, those take intention, and you must be intentional about them, and you have to figure out where you have a gap. So like, again, we start off with critical thinking. Like you cannot be a data analyst, data worker, data professional, data scientist, and not be a critical thinker. Just quit. Like you've got to think critically. And being an active listener, like you have to actively listen for what that customer is asking for, and then understanding that they don't always know what they're asking for and how to translate that back into a literal field of data. So yeah, I'm a big fan of building those soft skills and understanding what they are, and then how they turn back to data at its most fundamental level, which is a field name, a value, and a data type.
Well, I brought that up because I think it's a perfect segue into the second section of the podcast.
Okay.
Which we are going to get into some soft skills. So
okay.
Connor Brown and Ben Knuff are going to be pitching you their Tableau portfolio, and you're going to play the interviewer. So I've actually got both of their Tableau public pages pulled up. So let me share my screen right fast.
Let me turn on my interview face.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
Put on your real mean face. Okay. So Ben, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Which one do you want me to pull up?
You can do the baseball one.
Okay.
Probably know the most about that one.
Oh no. It's not letting me click.
Is it loading? Oh yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I don't know why the internet is dragging. Okay. So let me pull that up and I'll maximize it.
Okay, I want to watch Ben and his analytics. Okay, I'm ready.
All
right, Ben. So tell us what's going on here.
Okay, so this is a dashboard that I created for the Greensboro College Baseball 2020 statistics. This was from our 18 games that we got in last season before the pandemic happened and unfortunately canceled our season. So what I did here is I analyzed all of our team offensive statistics. So that's all hitting based statistics. And I brought in RBIs by player, hits by player, and average by player to kind of show the audience that the players with the most RBIs, the most hits, and the highest average are the highest performing players. And then this can be shown to the coaches or just show fans who the top players are on the team are and who are helping improve the team's record and overall performance.
Okay. So, okay, I'm going to give you feedback.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So, I love baseball. Awesome. And I fully appreciated your description of the overall dashboard. Questions I have for you is, or would tell you, is that I would love to see you drive it, right? Like,
right.
Show me how, as a coach, I can answer my own questions.
Mm-hmm.
Because a dashboard is meant for me to get a blush of information and then start exploring it to ask my own questions.
Right.
So, because I know John David is actually sharing the screen, but how, as a coach, would you tell me to explore this dashboard to answer my own questions?
Yeah, so I have it filtered. So if you click on any player name in any of the three sections, then it will highlight their name in other categories. So then you can see, yeah, for Big Mike, he has 8 RBIs, the most hits, and a really solid average. So coach can see that he's one of our highest performers and know that he's a successful player. Probably should stay in the lineup.
Okay, so explain to me why, again, because I'm coming from I'm trying to understand.
Mhm.
So when you click, all right, so on the tree map and you choose the very first person, what was it, Michael? Yeah, right there. So Michael obviously on the tree map appears very dark green, meaning something. So be sure you explain to me what that meaning something is. But then it is a little bit hard to understand why then, if he is so dark green and like obviously a top performer, why is he so far on the RBI list and making sure, now I'm sure a coach would understand this, right? But like, why is he, from my perspective, so low on the RBI list, but so big in the tree map? And then he's in a different position on the far right-hand side. Like, so when you're going through and you're describing this, these are areas of things to address. Like, I would say, I want you to note, like, this is what this means and why he's here and explaining the usability of it.
Okay, that makes sense. Cool.
Okay, Robin, I've got some questions for you, actually. So what framework are you running this through? Is this like how you would explain it to a client, or have you interviewed someone and had them explain their Tableau public portfolio page to you in this way?
I would say I'm just consuming it as a regular person looking at it going, okay, why are these things these ways? So I guess from I don't know what framework, just like I'm reading it going, okay, these are just initial questions I would have. Is there a description that could be put onto the page? And just being prepared for someone who is looking at this and may be scared to touch it, how they could actually answer their own questions from it. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you were thinking of it like, this is how I explain my dashboards to my clients. Because I found that
probably a little bit of that in there, yeah.
Yeah, because I find that I need to show the clients, I need to train them on the user interface that I've created for them.
Correct.
Which I think is, I mean, it's interesting because we kind of talked about this a little bit, because I gave the students a framework, because like what we would do after we would wrap up each case study last semester, I would pull one of the students up to the front of the classroom and we'd call it the hot seat. And then I would say, all right, pretend that we're in a mock interview setting.
Yeah.
Explain this situation and this case study to me as if I were potentially going to be your next hiring manager.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sort of taking the same approach I take with my data analyst. Is like, okay, this is great. It looks like a dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me how I'm going to answer my own questions with it. And then just understanding that intrinsically, when people see things that you would think that they would be sorted all to the top or they would be sorted differently, but then they look in different places, making sure that there's descriptors there, or when you are educating them about using the dashboard, that you've clearly highlighted each one of those things that someone might look at and be like, why is that like that? Also just knowing professionally, people are scared to click because they've come up in a time when you can click certain things and everything break apart.
Oh,
right?
Interesting.
So like walking them through and showing them, I think is an important component for teaching people how to present their data. Yeah. But
Perfect.
No, I'm not knocking Ben's dashboard. I like Ben's dashboard.
Right.
But like if Ben is describing this and he's trying to stand out, educating them on how to use it to question it and answer questions, definitely something you want to do in every presentation. I mean, you went through and you explained each component.
Mhm.
That's so important. but then you add a layer of how those components interact. Like you said, they all filter. But show me what that looks like. Show me what that filter looks like and why I care about that filter. And then sometimes when you're filtering data, you don't want the other things to interact. You want to keep a consistent artifact on the page so that it never changes. So yeah, just different feedback like that.
Cool.
Other things I would say, just in general feedback, if you want it, is like you've got people who have 0 RBIs. Okay. So I maybe would have put a asterisk that said any player that had 0 RBIs is excluded so that I could make that graphic bigger. Okay. I would make all of the text bigger inside the tree map itself, so that I'm not having to look down into it to see, especially in this virtual environment. For some reason, bigger text makes people feel less intimidated.
I can see that.
Yeah, and for some of us who can't see, like we need reading glasses, like it's definitely helpful. And again, remember the point of a dashboard is to quickly give us information that we can then go operate and make decisions on, or go further explore because we can easily see it.
So, Connor, actually, you have to leave soon because of your golf qualifiers, right? So
we can do it quickly.
Yeah, let's do this one quickly. I just remembered that. Sorry, we should have started with Connor, not Ben. But Robin, if you wanted to, we can go back to Ben's, or Ben, if you have any additional questions. Connor, which one did you want us to focus on?
The sales data.
Sales data, okay. Oh boy, this is taking forever to load. I wonder why. And I'm not breaking up in this call, am I?
No, sir.
Yeah, it's weird that I wonder if it's Tableau Public's webpage. Okay. So let's let this load. Here we go. All right, Connor. So what's going on here?
Okay, so Professor Arianson gave us data from a specific company, and our job was to make a dashboard to find insights. And so we first looked at it from the data governance perspective of fixing any incorrect or incomplete data and then bringing it into Tableau and then deciding what we're going to do with it. And so the two most important KPIs I saw were total revenue and number of sessions. So I put that at the top. And then we have 4 other graphs explaining both of these metrics, like the revenue, or the 2 graphs on the left, the revenue by channel and revenue by device. You have the green bar representing the total revenue from each of the channels and then each of the devices. And then the blue dot represents the average deal size of each of those channels and devices. And then at the bottom, we have revenue versus the transactions per week. So we have a double line graph where the green area is the revenue and then the gray area is the transactions. And so that's important because we can find like I think it's March 31st was a spike in revenue. And so we can look deeper into that and see, okay, well, what might have happened that week? What specific channel or what specific device? Because it's the whole dashboard's interactive too. So yeah, you can click on it and then it shows you like revenue by device went up, like the average deal size went up $6 from the $6 from the total average. And then the last graph was by region. So the color is the amount of revenue. And so the darker the color, the more revenue, and the size of the bubble is related to the amount of sessions. And so we can geographically break down revenue and find, like, one of the interesting insights I saw was when you click on North Carolina, the revenue by device is a lot higher for the desktop than any of the other states. So if you are from looking at it from a marketing perspective, you can decide that you're going to market on your desktop rather than mobile in North Carolina.
Interesting.
Yeah, Robin, what are your thoughts on that?
So Will you take the filter off
Sure.
by North Carolina? Okay. So, all right, I'm trying to formulate how to say or ask my question or statement. I'm not sure which one it's going to be. Okay. So I thought what you were going to tell me is that I could use the revenue versus transactions to show like where I'm having high revenue points and low transactional, meaning they are ordering bigger items. And is that what that is showing me, or is that just literally showing me, can it show me that? And then I think it's interesting you said the shade of the bubble on the geography is the revenue, but the size is the transaction
Or the amount of sessions.
for the amount of sessions. Okay. Is there any particular reason why? Okay, will you click on North Carolina again? Does your revenue by channel or revenue by device, does that layout stay static? So it's always direct, organic search, paid search, referral, and social, or does it change based on value? Like, so in other words, if I click on another city, is organic search going to be at the second position always?
Yes, I haven't messed with it a lot in Tableau to figure out how to rank it.
Okay.
I'm sure I could figure it out, but
Right.
yes, I think that would be a little more effective.
Yeah.
I think all you'd have to do is click on sort. Like if we were to pull up Tableau desktop, if we hovered over this right around here on this chart, I think we could sort the columns by highest amount of revenue for channel and device.
And pick that way. So like if I go click, I can immediately say, well, organic search is the top. Because right now, if it doesn't do that, I got to go remember where it was on the previous one and then correlate it back to where it is now. So, and again, that's going to be customer preference, right? So some customers are going to say, I want this to always be this order. But then again, some may say, well, I want to see the highest one first, so that I'm not trying to keep up with the size of the bar from the previous one that I looked at. I don't know if that makes sense how I said that or not, but
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we have to hold a lot of information, right? And so when you're building dashboards, you want to build them in a way that I can remember it as I click without having to think too hard. Like the whole point of this is I don't want to think too hard about what I need to research and explore. Okay, awesome. Overall, good job.
Thank you.
Well, he had an advantage because you gave Ben criticism.
Yeah, so can we go back to Ben?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Connor, great job. Good job, yes. I hope you kill it at your qualifier and you win the tournament.
Are you going to be a big time golfer? Is that what's happening here?
I mean, I'm going to try.
I mean, we can actually, we have a visualization for that.
Oh, cool.
So the thing about Greensboro College is that a lot of the student population are student athletes because it's a smaller college. But yeah, I mean, Connor's really good at golf. I mean, just look at all of this. I just wanted to brag on Connor as thanks for being so interactive and letting us give you feedback on your dashboards.
Awesome.
All right, so let's go back to Ben's. So where do we leave off?
So I was just talking about how it's sort of the same kind of feedback as I was giving Connor, like shuffling those labels, right? So when I click, things kind of sort in the order that makes sense maybe for decision making. Again, there is a lot of feedback that has to happen between you and the consumer, and consumer as the person who's consuming your dashboard, to figure out exactly how it educates them with any information. You're welcome, Connor. Thank you. Ben, if I had like one super request. It would have been awesome to see, based on the weekly stats, like who are the top 3 from last week, or who are the top 3 over time, like very specific. Like if you looked over this volume of time, this part of the season, the entire season, who are the top, and just have them very specifically
Right.
listed out so that I don't have to go explore.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I could probably determine it by playing around with your dashboard,
Right.
right?
That'd be cool though, I guess. So, because in baseball it can be very streaky, you know, with slumps and hot streaks. So you
Yeah.
could say Michael had a very good week last week, so I want to keep him in the lineup. Or he had a down week, maybe put somebody else in. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Because again, like I want to inform a decision to be made, and I want to inform it quickly. And so when I can highlight those types of things on a dashboard without having to explore to determine it, to me, that's a good indicator of a great dashboard. And you're close, right? Like for everything you already have together here, it wouldn't be a big leap for you to include that. And then also filters, not just by people, but filters by number of games or season versus last season, whatever would make sense.
Right. Cool.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up kind of the student expert interactive section. Let's jump into the Q&A. So Al's going to bring in the LinkedIn questions right after we get to any of the students within the Analytics Minor cohort. So students, do you guys have any questions for Robin?
I'm good. Thank you for the Tableau advice.
Was it? Yeah, don't hate my guts now.
No,
Don't be mad at me.
That was good advice.
I feel like everyone's so afraid to give criticism. Maybe it's just the fact that I am so self-deprecating as a professor that I'm like, look, we can make fun of each other and like in a constructive way, or like give criticism. Because like, yeah, everyone who comes on is like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. It's like, these students are tough. Like
that's how you learn.
Yeah, they want that feedback. They want constructive
Yeah.
criticism.
If they were my students, they would know exactly how harsh the feedback would be. So yeah, but yeah, I the same type of feedback, maybe delivered just a little bit sweeter. But yeah, no, I liked everything that I saw. So again, my I hope what you take away from that is understanding that people are scared to click.
Mm-hmm.
And that dashboards are meant to inform decision making or further explore, and then making sure that you're highlighting the key component, like what is the ultimate, what am I trying to get out of this, and putting things on there that inform that and tell me without me having to dig and explore it myself, even though I can.
Got it.
Awesome. Ladies, no questions for me? None? Nope. Okay. So I've either done a terrible job or I've done a great job. I don't know which one.
I think they're speechless. It's so good.
Awesome.
I was about to say, so Connor's gone. Yeah. I mean, so students, no questions. None at all. I know Al's got 5, so, and don't feel pressured.
I feel like Shay's like formulating a question up there. Maybe he's scared to ask it. I don't know. Or he's trying to think of one.
What do you want to know, Shay?
I'm trying to think. Let's see if there's, because you covered how you got into the field and everything. Do you see yourself continuing to progress in this business analytics field?
Yeah, I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I want to be like, so
go
right now,
deeper.
Like, I want to go deeper. Like, I want to study data that's important, and not all data is important. And I've had to work a really long time to get to the data that's important. And it's not that I don't love all my customers' data, right? I do love it. But earlier when I was talking about early childhood education, that data matters. By providing that data with that data science team, we're expanding opportunity to our most vulnerable children in our state. And that's the type of analytics I want to do every day. So yeah, I will continue to progress. I can't wait to be able to do that for multiple states. And if I could study analytics on, cures for diabetes or cancer, or yeah, I mean, that's, to me, that is some groundbreaking analytics. So until I get to that's what I'm doing every day, yeah, I'm going to continue to, if I'm breathing, I'm going to progress, because I do not like to be stagnant. I want to constantly be going for the next thing and just getting better and better and better. That's me.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shay, for participating. At least we got one student question in.
I saw him up there chewing on it pretty good. Yeah.
All right. Going once, going twice. Students, nothing? Well, I guess we got one. We got one question. All right. I know it. They just want class. Class is officially dismissed. You guys can go about your day. So now we're going to move into the LinkedIn submitted questions.
Okay.
So Al, what's going on? What does our audience want to know about?
So we, yesterday, Haley and I met up in the chats, and we realized we only had a couple of questions going in. We didn't have a ton of people actually in the chat room. So Haley and I convened the show superfans into what we called the Robin Hunt Question Task Force, or RHQTF. Didn't really have time to think of better initialism for that, so apologize. We would have thought of something really cool that was like, stone or something like that. But anyway, but we did have a couple, and then we got a few more from the great question askers that follow the show. So,
Okay.
So the first one is from our very own Dr. Daniel Hall. And he wanted to know that since you are an expert in Microsoft Access, how do you instruct your students about the point at which they need to progress from that to a more powerful tool?
Ooh, I love that question.
He is a doctor, so he asks good questions.
Yeah, I'm all day, every day on that. So first of all, you use Access. So we use Access as an educational tool, okay? Because it holds all of the major components of any software system that deals with data, right? But if you need large data sets, it's not going to be your fix. If you need web databases, it's not going to be your fix. But if you need a simple solution where you don't have a gazillion-dollar budget and you don't have a million records that have to be dealt with, Access is a good, cost-effective solution. So we handle that based on what are the needs, what is the budget, and what are the constraints. And if you have, so again, it has a limit of what it can do. So we use Access as an educational tool, but as a solution, it is just greatly dependent on a lot of the different factors. Like if it's going to be a huge data set, lots of people using it, and have any kind of web component whatsoever, then you're going to face challenges if you use Access databases. If you need a simple solution that has databases and queries and even can link into larger systems like SQL Server databases and Oracle databases, then by all means, Access can be an amazing solution for some users.
Okay.
Very dependent.
Appreciate it. So next one is from one of your students, and I hope I'm saying her name right. Kathia White, ring a bell?
She may be one of our learning data analytics folks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kathia, if you're out there, I hope I said your name properly. So she asked, as someone who is new to data analytics with basic training, what can she do to practice hands-on and get to the point where she can land a junior data analyst role?
Oh, I love this question as well. We call it goodwill work. So find a local nonprofit. Find a friend in business who has a need but doesn't have a budget but needs someone diligent and willing to explore. Leverage those resources. I did a ton of goodwill work before I was ever a consultant because I was trying to build my skills. So I made sure I was in places where I could meet people who had those needs. And I volunteered into areas that I enjoyed being in, like the arts. I love art and technology. So if I could go support a firm that dealt with art, then that's what I did. Festivals, I love festivals and art festivals. So we have local Moss Rock Festival here, and volunteering to support them, and now I'm on their board. So yeah, I would say goodwill work is definitely a route to go. And there's a ton of nonprofits who need data support. They can't, they don't have, their budget dollars are meant to move their mission, not do multi-scale software development projects. So I would definitely plug into those local nonprofits and see.
Yeah, that's actually a piece of advice that we give a lot is you could actually pitch a local nonprofit, hey, let me take your data and I want to quantify the impact, because that's what the nonprofits are increasingly starting to compete on is what is the return on investment? If you spend $100,000 with me versus this other nonprofit, what is the impact of that?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how kind of data is starting to seep into, because I mean, most people in the nonprofit space very much, they're more mission curious and driven and like being a good person and doing good work versus there aren't as many technical people in that space, I don't think.
No, but and the reverse is they have a ton of data.
Right.
That matters a lot to driving those missions. So yeah, I would say that would be my first piece of advice is to find that goodwill work and find nonprofits that you support their mission and you believe in what they do. And we do that here too. So yeah, that's my advice.
Perfect.
It sounds like you guys rehearsed these answers before the show.
I mean, no. But
we just have our talking points.
But I will say I field that type of question all the time. So
yeah.
I knew as soon as you said nonprofit, I was like, oh, you near and dear to John David's heart.
No.
So our next question is from Diane Johnson, who asked a ton of good questions. So she's asking about what courses she should take next in her career path. She's thinking about AWS certification, Google, Python, or SQL. And for context, Diane is a mid-career transitioner into data. She was a stay-at-home mom for quite some time. And then coming back into the job field, she went into recruiting, which is not where she wants to be long-term. She has an information systems bachelor's degree from way back and was well-versed in COBOL and Fortran. So what do you got with that?
And my options of choice were AWS, Python, SQL.
So she's considering AWS, Google, Python or SQL is kind of a starting point. I think if you went outside of that list, she'd probably be pretty receptive.
Okay, so when I think about AWS, I mean, it's like that could go a million different directions, right? So that's tough. SQL could go a million different directions. Really, Python. Every one of them can go a million different directions. I believe if you want to be an analytics professional, you don't have to know how to design databases, or you don't have to be a database architect, but anything that you learn in databases will ultimately help you be a data analyst, a data engineer, or even data scientist at the top of your career. So that's a tough one to field. I would have additional questions like, how much did you enjoy your information systems degree? And, what part of that did you enjoy and which part of that did you not enjoy? And if you didn't enjoy it, steer clear of that. SQL being the language of queries and data, I don't think you can go wrong learning SQL. But then when you want to learn SQL, it's like, what are you learning? Are you going to be the DBA where you're administrating it, or are you going to be the person who's querying it? What about like warehousing data and things like that? So there's so many different places to go. I would say spend some time on learning how to query in SQL and then see where you're at that point. If you already have an aptitude for coding, then definitely explore Python at the same time. You could do both of those at the same time. Yeah, that's a good question. We might need to follow up with her with some additional questions.
She will certainly be in the live chat on Friday, so I'm sure she'll have good questions for you.
Awesome.
There. And since we mentioned SQL, I have to shout out to Team Squirrel. Christina and Wilson will be very angry if I don't refer to it as Squirrel. So
Okay.
That's one of
I
our
actually
inside
called it
jokes.
sequels the other day, and it was like, okay, it's just like being at Walmart's. I'm so
The
sorry.
storm of hate and discontent, I'm sure, was withering. So next we have Noella Pinto is an undergrad in India, and she is a very multi-talented data student. She's asking about a way to incorporate soft skills and or artistic talents into a data career. So she's talking about, she is a debater, she is a public speaker, which I think both of those fit pretty squarely. And then she's a singer and dancer as well.
Oh,
What do you
wow.
got for-
So she's definitely an artist, and she's wanting to figure out how to incorporate all of that into a data worker profession of all shapes and sizes. So first of all, I think it's important to understand that data is in every industry. Data is in every place. It's not just siloed in the technology department. It's everywhere. So identifying maybe who is already tracking and exploring data in those areas of your interest, right? There's going to always be someone who's looking at that data and figuring out, like, how are they exploring the data, and what networking events are they going to, where are they, and like integrating yourself into those areas. But like having a strong desire for a particular type of industry, which in her case is the arts. Yeah, I would just plug myself into that industry and figure out who are the data people that are already there, and what are they talking about, what are they publishing, and finding not the mega influencers, but the micro influencers who are already in that space, and just discovering what they're posting, what they're talking about, and what technologies they're using.
Awesome. Handled that one well. That would have thrown me for a loop.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then I don't go here a lot, but I know about it. But she could also explore data is beautiful on Reddit, and probably blow her own mind with what's out there already from an artistic standpoint.
I feel like we don't talk about Reddit enough. That's actually so the students got stuck. There was like within the consulting project they're working on right now, they had to create like a nested calculation within like a calculated column, and I was like, I can't figure that out off the cuff. What you should do is post on the Tableau public forums and on the Reddit Tableau subreddit. That's actually where I like when I get stuck, I will post on those two forums, and
Awesome.
will like actually solve the problem. They'll get, not only will they solve it, they'll solve it in multiple different ways.
Oh,
You have
yeah,
like
which is
4
amazing.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing about technology just in general, is like there are multiple ways to attack a problem and come to a successful end. And so there's a lot of great possibilities there, and a lot of great hope for people, is like you can achieve it in a different way and still get an accurate result.
Right.
Awesome.
All right. 2 more. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Alok Chikla is asking how you maintain your data scientist profile and skill set in today's competitive environment. There's a few different ways you can go with that one.
Ooh. Well, I'm going to tell you, probably most of those data scientists that are the upper echelons probably don't maintain a profile because they're busy. So keep that in mind. You can become so engaged in what you're doing, it's hard to maintain those things. But again, like volunteering, making sure that people know what your message is. Yeah, and like again, I have lots of customers. I love them. I don't publish any of them because their data is private and confidential. So I don't know how you maintain that profile and also maintain privacy. I just know, like if you're involved in your community and you receive accolades, rewards, or you become published, then you definitely want to put those things actually out on your profiles. That's the best answer.
Robin, I've actually been thinking about this. I think you and I are like entrepreneurs in the data space.
Yeah.
It's different for us.
Yeah.
So like the podcast that we're on right now is kind of a portfolio piece for me.
Got it.
I would say the Linda courses that you have out are a portfolio piece for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like once you get you get so busy that I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it would be a good return on investment for me to continually update a Tableau Public portfolio, for example.
Yeah.
Where like I can say, look, I've developed a new learning platform and here's how we're driving business to it. Like I'm managing, I have a marketing manager, I have Alan being our social media manager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit different. Like once you hit a certain, I don't know if it's level of success, although we've kind of hit that success metric and then gone in a different way.
Well, I think it's okay making sure the people that need to know, like the people that are going to hire and employ you.
Mm-hmm.
They need to know what you're up to and where you're working. And if you're trying to get hired and stand out on the crowd, it's going to be those goodwill efforts, those published opportunity, like where you've been published for the work you've done, or you've created a course, or you have a YouTube channel. It's just, there's so many different ways, but you have to do something to distinguish yourself. That part I get. And so, you know, don't put a gazillion hours worth of effort in there and it not be worth it. Just kind of look through and figure out, like, this is what matters to me. This is what I want people to see, and make sure it's out there. And then again, look at, like, you know, there are people that I look up to and I follow and I appreciate them and I want to consume, and I look at what they do and then decide, you know, does that fit for me and should I do that? So yeah, it's hard. Also, I think it's just so important to say there are so many more data jobs than just the data scientists. Like, companies are not hiring a gazillion data scientists. And so when you are pursuing data science, you're pursuing a small number of jobs in a very competitive market. So if you don't get there, don't feel discouraged taking a different data role. Just get yourself integrated in there, and then just make sure that when you have key accomplishments, that you're putting those out there to distinguish yourself.
Can I pivot the question? So you hire people for analyst roles, right? Like in your consulting agency? Do you look at their portfolios, or do you look at their experience more?
No, I look at their, you ready for this?
Oh no.
Soft skills.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
First of all, I hate resumes. I think they're dumb. So I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I hire based on skill sets and need for the company. I don't just hire analysts, but yeah, they all have some form of data background. But I'm looking for those soft skills. I can teach you a point and click all day, every day. But I can't teach you to be a critical thinker. You either are or you're not. I can't teach you to actively listen. You're either going to do it or not do it. If you've been exposed to it and you do it, and then you can practice it and become amazing at it. Yeah, I'm looking at those soft skills, those things that are going to be the different from the point and the click. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I just realized how unique of a hiring manager you are.
Oh, I'm totally different. I do. Yeah.
But you've built your career around analytics education. So if someone doesn't know something, you can teach them.
Correct. I think that a lot of people get passed up on, and it's an unfortunate thing, but you know, we don't, data is so, like, data's been around forever, right? But it's just, we're still not there yet with communicating, like, what are those important skills? And so, yeah, I don't look at technical hard skills. And plus I don't know, like, what all you're going to be exposed to when you get here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have those soft skills, it's a non-starter. So, yep.
Awesome.
Last one.
All right.
No
How am I doing
context.
so far? Because I mean, these questions are
You
rough.
got all 5 right.
Okay, great.
100%.
I'm winning.
You're winning.
No context. Question is from Vikram Krishna. If you had to choose between Excel and Power BI, which one would you choose and why? Go.
I'm going to choose on which one solves my problem.
Oh, that's such a non-answer.
Okay, well, if I don't need a visualization, I'm probably not going to use Power BI. I'll use Excel and Power Query if it's just a data set. So like my follow-up question would be, what's the outcome? Because the outcome will define what the tool is. So
No context.
Yeah, well, it does seem kind of like the question is a little bit, I don't know, if not calibrated, maybe. Like, because saying like what's the best tool for the problem, but you didn't give the problem. It's like, well,
but it's, again, it speaks to the idea that in our industry we're pushing tools.
right.
So we push tools, and so obviously I appreciate the question. The question is, which one do you choose? And I do think that the answer is important. I choose which one solves the problem, and they both solve very unique problems. And then I also have to consider other things like, well, what licensing does that company have?
True. So yeah, what's the cost involved there? Can you elaborate on the specific problems that each of the two? So maybe that's what like we're trying to get out of this question. What are the specific problems that each of those two tools solve?
So I don't know. They both use Power Query, which is the most amazing tool on earth as far as I'm concerned. So that's really where it's tough. If I need, okay, so sharing a dashboard in an Excel environment is not a fun experience. Like about the best you can do is timeline slicers and some spark lines, okay, which those are valuable. So if I need a interactive dashboard where the decision maker can actually explore, get a first blush, and then explore and answer their own questions, then Power BI all day, every day. But if it's an artifact one time, I'm not going to share it out. It's not going to be organizational wide. It's a simple, like it's going to go into a PowerPoint presentation or be printed in an annual report. Then I'm not going to like put the effort forth to put it into an org wide situation when it's just a one-time ad hoc report. So, I mean, they're both equally powerful to me. It's just they're doing different things.
And I've got actually another dimension to consider. So in my consulting practice, I found that let's talk about two different C-suite executives. So chief marketing executives, they tend to like data visualization. But if I'm working with a CFO or a chief financial officer, he wants it in Excel. And he wants to be able to manipulate it and like kind of do like back of the napkin math and quickly, because the one of the best things about Excel is that how customizable it is. Mm-hmm. Also, one of the worst things about Excel is how customizable, because you can customize it, but you can also break it with just one wrong keystroke.
Right. So and then so those two C-suites also have two totally different objectives. Right. So the person is marketing, those are forward-facing, consumer, public, trying to engage and gain business for the company, whereas the CFO, that person needs to be able to get dirty in that data. They don't need to be stuck in a dashboard. They might use a dashboard to explore what to expand on, but they're going to need that data to get dirty in it. So, I mean, again, it comes down to get a strong understanding of every tool that's at the top of the market and figure out which one you have a gift for so that you can build your tool bag with tools that solve problems. So, I appreciate that's a good question. Ultimately, that's a very good, impactful question.
Yeah, it was a great conversation started, I would say.
Yeah, love it.
Awesome.
That's why no context. Robin, you got a perfect score in the Robin Hunt Question Task Force. Flawless victory, I think.
Awesome.
Well, this was incredible. I feel like these episodes are getting better and better. I think I'm loosening up a little bit and letting kind of, you take the floor and then also the students come in and interact with you. But I mean, I love this format, because like you got to talk with the students and then you got to like specifically talk about something concrete with that portfolio pitch.
I love that. That's awesome. And I appreciate you having me on to talk about something I love very much, which is data. I really, really love data, and I really need people to understand that you can enter the field and that there's a ton of opportunity out there, and that at the end of the day, it really starts down at the base level. If you want to be successful, you've got to get those basic concepts down. don't go chase the crazy new buzzwords. There's going to always be new buzzwords. Follow the data analytics professionals who did it before there were tools. They were quite so pretty. We used to have to do everything the hard way. So yeah, and then figure out who those micro influencers are, who those major influencers are, and then critically read what they're talking about. Like, don't just read it for face value. Really be intentional about it and explore what they're really talking about and try to get some understanding. And again, you cannot put enough time into building your soft skills.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I feel like you just put a pin in it. This was an awesome
Awesome.
episode.
Thank you so much for having us.